able to talk, of course.
Hi, welcome to this news episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter, and today we're going to be recapping the NFL draft from Ravens Steelers fan perspective, other takeaways, and then we're going to talk about which former Virginia Tech players landed in the best spots and which ones didn't. So let's first start with Ravens and Steelers. How do you think the Steelers did in the draft?
I would give, I think, the Steelers about a B plus. I thought, I'm not super high right now on the Kenny Pickett pick. I mean, I think honestly his ceiling is. I read this, like anywhere from Teddy Bridgewater to like maybe a lighter version of Derek Carr, and if they can get a lighter version of Derek Carr, I'm fine with that. Carr is probably one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but when you pick a quarterback in the first round, you expect him to be a franchise guy. I mean that's the reality of the situation. Can he be that? I'm not sure. George Pickens, I think, was a great pick. He was probably one of the three best receivers in this class, but he had the injury, of course. And I know people are going to look at his off the field concerns because I think he had that accident, wasn't wearing a seatbelt. He gets into like some pushing and shoving matches during games, but that's the competitiveness in people. He's a really strong deep threat, can make all the contested catches. Loved the other receiver that they got. The Steelers really have been rebuilding their offense these last couple of years. The defense has basically said, I said coming into this draft, they don't really have too many weaknesses there. They obviously had more holes on offense. And still they got DeMarvin Leal from Texas A&M on the defensive line. If Stephon Tuitt does not come back, that's probably his replacement. Though if he does, that's more added depth, and that's huge. That can maybe take
They
some
all can
snaps.
play across the entire D line, so that was a good pickup for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson Alualu is going to be back. Cam Hayward, obviously, they're going to be four deep there, which is nice.
Right.
They didn't have a lot of depth there last year. Again, they double dipped at wide receiver. I like that move. I know they took a second quarterback, but the Steelers also said they were going to have four quarterbacks going into camp, Edit. So, rather just draft him there than battle it out for undrafted free agents. He's probably going to be on the practice squad anyway, so I'm not really super worried about it. It's a seventh round pick, but the Steelers just better hope that they get this right with Kenny Pickett. I think if they do, and he is better than I think he will be, the draft I think turns into a solid A. But I'm still really happy with the class that they brought in. I'm definitely excited about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would have rather you guys have taken it's weird because I would have rather you guys taken Malik Willis instead of Kenny Pickett because I know Kenny Pickett on
Mm,
paper does not look like as exciting of a prospect as Malik Willis, but I don't know why. It's just for me, the Steelers are really good when it comes to stability and everything else. That they can take a guy like Kenny Pickett, who's not the most, who doesn't have, let's just say, the loudest tools, right? He doesn't have but he can make him look good. But because Kenny Pickett already has a safe floor, that's what Kenny Pickett could be a starter. Now that's the reason why it scares me because a little bit as a Ravens fan because if they took Malik Willis, there's more scope to mess up Malik Willis and there's more scope for error. But I think with Kenny Pickett, there's less scope. Like you really have to try hard to mess up Kenny Pickett. The George Pickens pick is it's good for you guys. You guys probably have one of the tallest receiving rooms now between
yes.
Miles Boykin and George Pickens.
It's the average age of the offense is 24 right now. They've done a really nice job to rebuild them, and Matt Canada has no excuses this year. You have an All-Pro running back. You have a really good tight end that could get to maybe Mark Andrews level if he pans out. That's probably a lot to ask, but he's still really reliable. The offensive line is maybe a bit of a question mark, but you have Deontay Johnson, you have Chase Claypool, George Pickens, and you have the
Calvin Austin.
yeah, obviously, yeah, Miles Borkin, and you have Austin too, who ran the 4.32. Those are a lot of really good weapons. Like I said, there's no excuses for Matt Canada this year, and they're doing their best to surround Pickett or Mitch Trubisky if he starts this year with good talent. I mean, I don't think this team is going to be super bad this year. They should still be able to win games with that unit, but this is the start of really rebuilding an offense that that was really not that good last year. And the fact that they won 9 games last year with Big Ben, who obviously wasn't what he once was, I think that says a lot going into the season with more weapons and potential better quarterback play.
Yeah, and then going to the Ravens here. Obviously, the name of the game is value, right? They went out and got Kyle Hamilton with the 14th overall pick. the thing about Kyle Hamilton is he's a guy that can play everywhere. He's a guy that can play slot corner, outside corner, man corner, free safety, strong safety. He can blitz, he can edge. He's basically a toolbox. He's basically a guy. He's a football player who's elite physical tools that can blend into whatever needs to be done. Which is why, because I understand people were saying, well, you got Marcus Williams, you got Chuck Clark. What's Kyle Hamilton going to do? Well, Kyle Hamilton can do multiple things. So now you got Kyle Hamilton, and you have Marcus Williams, you got Chuck Clark. That's a really good secondary. But here's the thing, though. Mike Macdonald, the Ravens defensive coordinator, had Dax Hill. And Dax Hill, if you saw Michigan, you would see Dax Hill kind of play multiple roles. Like he would be a blitz one play, he would be in coverage another play, and I think that Kyle Hamilton will be used in a similar way. So I would imagine Chuck Clark's gonna be more of a box safety. I think that may do a too high safety look. I think that you might put Kyle Hamilton. Hamilton will be used depending on what the play is and depending on what the situation is. That's what he's going to be used for. Marcus Williams is going to be a free safety. And obviously you got Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. The two corners they ended up getting, Jalen Armour Davis. That's an obvious Ravens pick. You could that is a 19th century leg trap that you see 100 miles away type of pick. But if he's he's basically an Anthony Averett replacement. Where did Anthony Averett go? Alabama. So there's your option there. Exciting tools, good speed, sub 4.4 speed. If you can stay healthy, being at depth speeds, that's solid. The guy they got from Houston, forgot his name, but good slot corner, play outside of Marcus Jones, who was really good for Houston, University of Houston. So not Marcus Jones, the other guy the Ravens got, the other corner. He should be solid. Him and Brandon Stevens are going to compete for snaps. Maybe Darius Washington. The edge rusher, David Ojabo, again trapped. You can see a million miles away. They got him with 45th overall pick. He's more likely should be coming back. He could be coming back in October. If he comes back in October, you could use him in a limited role. Him and Odafe, that's probably two Danielle Hunter type outside linebackers crashing the middle, and then you have the interior with Matabike, Calais Campbell's back, and then you also have Travis Jones. Oh, Michael Pierce is back, but Travis Jones was probably the best defensive tackle prospect, not from Georgia. So it's insane value. I think it was something like 4 picks. Their first 4 picks were like on most guys top 50. So you can't really complain about the value there. I'll talk about the Hollywood Brown trade just in a little bit. I do want to I'm going to share this is my favorite pick though was Daniel Fale, because 6'8", 385 pounds. You want to build a wall? You want to build a wall around Lamar? They went out and got extended Pat McCarr, who can play multiple positions on that O-line. They went out and got Morgan Moses. Ronnie Stanley should be back. Then you go and get Tyler Linderbaum, who Ravens lost to key piece in Marshall Yanda. Why not go and get the latest, the next lineman that reminds you of Marshall Yanda? Both went to Iowa. Both played the interior. And if Iowa's good at one thing, it's good. It's finding country strong guys who can go, who are wrestlers, and guys who are linemen. And Tyler Linderbaum is both. So you get your Marshall Yanda replacement in Linderbaum, and you get the human wall in big old Daniel Fale. But what I really like about Fale is when you look at him, yeah, you see 385, but you don't see a lot of water weight. Like, he is 385 and he's in good shape for 385. And the fact that this guy was he's only played football for about 5 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is exciting for his ceiling. Tyler Beatty's a decent running back. He's your Justice Hill replacement. I'm going to share this right here. And long story short, you need a goal line play.
Out the football thing.
This guy right here.
All right, so is this a deke? He sort
That's
of
a tank.
tackle again. Out of the timeout. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Could be the biggest.
Yeah, I just gotta watch. I just gotta watch this real quick here.
History, maybe.
Going to the yeah, going right there. Yeah, just right in.
And
Guys are just evil. I'm sure Harbaugh's totally gonna do that.
Oh yeah. So I'm just imagining that because he's by the way he's also played Wildcat quarterback before.
Oh my god.
But I can just imagine like Big Ben Cleveland as your left guard. I mean Linderbaum's athletic. No, Ben Cleveland's like 6'6", 355 pounds. So just imagine your defensive lineman. You have to get past Ben Cleveland. But then you have a guy 385, 6'8", with the ball, with a full head of steam. You got to make business decisions at that point. I mean, granted, you don't want Fele to get hurt, especially with inexperience. But that's just an exciting way to use him. Like he's a bigger guy than the fridge.
Yeah.
So if they didn't get Jordan Davis, at least they got this guy just for crafts and giggles. But the big thing is Hollywood Brown. Before I get to my thoughts, what were your thoughts on Hollywood Brown trade?
It was something I didn't see coming, and then DaCosta said at the end of the season, apparently that he requested a trade. I guess he felt like he wasn't getting the ball enough. I don't know if it was because of Greg Roman's offense or something like that, but I guess he wanted to go
re-enroll the NFL.
Yeah, you did mention that to me. So he was still getting the ball a little bit, but now I think it still creates a little bit of a hole there. I know the Ravens didn't do anything in the draft to, I guess, address that too much, but you did remind me that OBJ is still out there, Julio Jones. But as it stands right now, there's Rashad Bateman, and I think there's a lot of players that haven't proven themselves yet. So I think right now, I think Lamar Jackson is mainly going to throw to Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. And at least right now, that's probably
Duvernay. Probably Duvernay.
Yeah, Duvernay. Yeah, he's out there too. I still think that another target or two to make sure that they're not super one dimensional. But the Cardinals, they should have. The Ravens got a good package back. I don't really think the Cardinals should have given up that pick to get him. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, no, I mean you got to factor in. Like, would you rather have Hollywood Brown for the next 4 or 5 years, at least at $20 million a year, because he's going to get a contract. He should be getting a contract soon. But would you rather have him at $20+ million a year, or would you rather have Tyler Linderbaum for 20 or for a rookie contract? And that's kind of where the calculus kind of comes into play. I would rather personally. I like Hollywood. I think having a center like Tyler Linderbaum stabilizes the offensive line. But talking about pass catchers. The Ravens drafted 2 tight ends in this draft. Charlie Collier, the tight end from Iowa State. He's kind of like a Mark Andrews type guy. Good pass catcher, soft hands, but not a great blocker. Mark Andrews has become a better blocker. I think Collier can become a better blocker, but now you're basically, what I like about that pick is Mark Andrews clearly fits in this offense, whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Huntley or Josh Johnson or Lamar. You now go and get a guy who is built like Mark Andrews and plays like Mark Andrews. I'm not going to say he's not going to put up Mark Andrews type numbers, but if he can give Lamar a good safety blanket, I mean, you're now giving Lamar bigger targets to throw to. Now, it's almost like you're buying a Hummer when fans want you to buy a Ferrari. That's kind of the way to look at it in a way, but there are trade-offs. Like with Ferrari, with the receivers, there's drop issues, there's route running, there's physicality and everything else you got to worry about. But with the Charlie Collier, you don't have to really worry about that because he's bigger than safeties but faster than linebackers. So it is a mismatch nightmare. You pair him with Andrews, that's great. You have your Hayden Hurst replacement in Isaiah Likely. But I kind of look at him as he's kind of like a wide receiver / tight end. He's basically that. He looks big. He's like his position is tight end, but when you see him play, when he's not blocking, when you see him play, he looks like a wide receiver. Like he looks like a wide receiver. He runs routes really well. Obviously, that Coastal Carolina offense, it is a little gimmicky to a degree, but he's a solid option. Like Ravens fans are saying, well, you didn't draft a receiver. It's like Isaiah Likely is kind of like a receiver. Like the way they're going to use him, they're just going to call him a tight end because when it comes to contracts, if you call someone a tight end, you can get him for cheaper, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then they went out and had some undrafted. There's some undrafted guys there, like Slade Bolden's an
I was
interesting
gonna
guy.
ask, what were your thoughts on Lamar Jackson's reaction to like the move, the Hollywood Brown trade?
I think that Lamar knew about it. Lamar, because Hollywood said he told Lamar about it. The front office said they told Lamar about it. So we gotta make that point clear. Now maybe she could have rephrased that tweet better for sure, but maybe it was they pick Hamilton. Hollywood gets traded. 20 minutes later, he's Hollywood Brown's in Arizona for the Cardinals draft party, and just seeing the sequence of events, and then seeing your best friend gets traded, and now he's with the other team celebrating with them. It could irk you in the wrong way, and I think part of that could be that response. The national media wanting to twist this. I was a big fan of it, especially with you could just go to Eric DaCosta's press conference and he pretty much said, we told Lamar about it. I was, again, it's journalism. You should be able to look up video clips, and if it's easily accessible to people like me and you, it's easily accessible to them. And it's very clear that this whole Lamar contract talk, either you want to media wants to crap on the Ravens or crap on Lamar or crap on both. And I think they're going to use every opportunity to do that. And I think that's kind of what's really interesting there. But going back to the options to replace him, free agency, Julio Jones right now seems like the perfect Ravens fit. 33 years old. Big 33 years old. He's going to be on his third contract, I believe. Alabama
Right, yeah.
guy. That sounds like a Ravens pick. That sounds like a vet Ravens signing. I think I mentioned this to you. The Ravens do like to have these under the table deals. They won't make him before the draft, even though Julio was cut, but they won't make him before the draft because you want to see what options you have in the draft because they didn't think Kyle Hamilton will fall to them, but he did fall to them. But so, and maybe they were hoping a receiver would fall to them at 14, but none of them fell to them. But it's just and maybe they're like, so they have these under the table deals that are unofficial deals. Maybe we find out next week or so the Ravens sign Julio Jones or Jarvis Landry or Will Fuller. I don't think it's Odell Beckham because I don't know if he'll be able to play next year. I don't think they're going to trade for a DK Metcalf or a Deebo Samuel because, and this is the thing that Ravens fans need to understand, why would you trade your fourth-year receiver for draft picks? And then, even or after draft or future draft picks especially, then turn around and give up resources to trade for another fourth-year receiver and sign him to a contract that is probably more on an annual basis than you would have to give that you would have gave it that your guy you just fourth-year receiver that you traded away would ask for.
Mhm.
There's just something about that logic makes no sense whatsoever. And a lot of Ravens fans are saying, "Oh, this means they're going after Deebo." It's like, you realize Hollywood is in the exact same position as Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf. You really think they could have signed Hollywood Brown and given him the money he wants?
Did Ravens actually say they were going to go after Deebo Samuel?
No, fans were saying that.
Jesus.
It just
You
made
don't even have the draft capital or like the roster players they would want to get him.
Yeah, no, and then you got to factor in like and then people were saying, well, maybe they're going to trade for Kadarius Toney, but the problem with trading for Kadarius Toney, one is why do the Giants want to get rid of him? But two is okay. Maybe you could put Chuck Clark in a deal because Wink's now the Giants' defensive coordinator. Chuck Clark had the green dot on his he wore a green dot for the Ravens. Maybe there's some interest there. Kyle Hamilton's now with the Ravens, but the problem is Devin Duvernay is still available. You could still use Devin Duvernay in a Kadarius Toney type role, and Rashad Bateman's gonna be your number one guy, and it is appealing. I just don't think they will go that way. I think they'll go get they'll get one of the undrafted guys, maybe a Slade Bolden, who is a slot guy from Alabama. Kind of reminds me a lot of Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. Realistically, if you want to dream sky high, Cooper Kupp type like profile, not the biggest guy, but really good route runner, not the best speed. He's a good guy to watch out for to make the team. There's Makai Polk from Mississippi State. He's another guy. Devin Williams or Oregon, big 6'5" receiver. I think Slade Bolden is the odds-on favorite. If you had to say an undrafted receiver to make the team, just based off his pedigree from Alabama, if you're a number 4 receiver in Alabama, you're probably a number 1 receiver somewhere else. So I think you got to look out for that. Then you also got to look out for and then an external veteran free agent. I say maybe it's Julio, maybe it's Will Fuller. I don't think it's Jarvis Landry, and I don't think it's OBJ. So it's going to be you can mix and match, but this is pretty much. I think Louis Riddick said it right. They want to get back to 2019. They're going to present to you so many opportunities. You got to stop them in between the numbers. But with Collier, with Andrews, with Duvernay, it's going to be pretty hard to do that. They got the run game. They got the O-line for that. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do. It just proves they're not going to be a team that's going to play like the Bengals or the Rams or the Cardinals. They're not going to do 4 wide. It's not an offense meant for receivers. It's basically we're going to bludgeon you. We're going to beat you round by round, and if you're still standing, then we'll take the shots outside. We'll take the shots there, which works for Lamar. Because when you think about it, it's high percentage. We're going to keep the ball for as long as we can, and then if you still want to stop us, you can still stop us. But it's a formula that has worked for them in the past. Now, they do have the pieces to replicate it, so we'll see if it works for them in the future. But what were some of your other takeaways from the draft?
You see that Cowboys that they were reaching at 24th, and then Jerry Jones basically.
Shannon Sharp made it really. Shannon Sharp. Yeah, Shannon. Before you continue, Shannon Sharp said something really interesting. He's like, so Jerry Jones said Jerry Jones didn't want guys with red flags. Oh, he probably wanted guys with yellow flags.
Oh wow! And then he shows the draft board, confirming that he had them higher, and then Stephen Jones was like, "Dude, put that away. I don't want to see that." It's just like dysfunction junction down there, man. It's just always hilarious. Very stunned that Malik Willis fell all the way down to what was it? Like round 3? What was it?
86 to the Titans.
Yeah, round 3. I think people were lied to about him. I surely think I did not think he was going to be the 3rd quarterback taken. I'm pretty sure.
Ritter was in the 70s.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter was the second one. I was very surprised by that, to say the least. I thought the Jets had a nice draft, probably the best draft they've had in maybe 4 to 5 years. And who knows how much it's going to mean, but I thought they killed it down there. The AJ Brown trade, that was a stunner. It looked like they were talking a contract extension with him.
They did. It was like 4 years, 100 mil, 57 guaranteed.
Yeah. And then that whole AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts video where they're just like hyping each other up. That's going to make the NFC East that maybe a little more interesting if Jalen Hurts wants to, I guess, show up a little bit more for his 3rd season. Now the Titans, they drafted his replacement from out of Arkansas in the 1st round, but that's still a big gap for Ryan Tannehill not to have. He doesn't have him or Julio Jones this year.
They also got Kyle Phillips from UCLA, but I don't know if Kyle Phillips is going to play that big of a role. I don't know.
I'm sure they have Derrick Henry on their offense, but their offense is definitely taking a hit going into next season. So that was definitely a bit interesting. I'm trying to think other big. I thought the Giants had a good draft for the first time in ages. They got Thibodeau and they got Evan Neal. 2 big acquisitions. That's probably their best pass rusher they've had in their last decade. I think someone said on Twitter, it's the Giants' best pass rusher since the Obama administration.
Oh, right, yeah, because Strahan, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny.
I feel so bad for Thibodeau because Wink's not going to play him as a pass rusher.
Probably not, yeah. I think that's definitely a good one. see, I'm trying to think of anything else. Kind of shocked that Jacksonville took Trayvon Walker number 1. I would have went Hutchinson, but that's me. Again, I thought the Ravens obviously had a good draft. I think it's time for them though to get more results moving forward with a lot of these picks. I think that'd be the foundation for them. Obviously, congratulations to Kevin Colbert on a wonderful, tremendous career. He officially retired yesterday from the general manager spot, so they're going to look to replace him. 22 years. 10 division titles, 14 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowls, notable Hall of Famers that he picked in the first round. That's a Hall of Fame executive right there, just like Ozzie Newsome was with Baltimore. So times are definitely changing there. But no, it's always fun when the draft comes around. And what were your other big takeaways from the draft?
It's mainly on the quarterbacks because
we were all lied to, I think, for the most part.
Well, I mean, it's depending on what you're looking at. Like, it means a couple of things. One, first of all, Ryan Tannehill was not alerted that the Titans would take Malik Willis in round 3. So that's going to be pretty interesting there. That contract situation, I don't know when they can get out of Ryan Tannehill's contract. But it's going to be pretty interesting there. The Commanders going with Sam Howell, reteaming him with De'Ami Brown. That's going to be interesting. Now, whether McLaurin still stays there. Ritter going to the Falcons. So here's where it's interesting, because next year's class is the quarterback market. Next year's class in the draft wise, it's going to be interesting. You got C.J. Stroud, you got Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young is draft eligible next year, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So those are your 2 top guys, and then you have who are the other guys? You got Spencer Rattler, who could be an interesting option depending on how well he plays. I saw a way too early mock draft 2023 with Brendan Armstrong in the first round. I don't know how.
Wow, that is insane.
I don't think he's a first round pick. Maybe the 3rd or 4th rounder. I don't know if he's a first.
I think he'll definitely go to the NFL. I will say that.
Hendon Hooker is a potentially interesting arm that I could see his stock going up.
Van Dyke from Miami. He's also a good quarterback, I think. Yep.
Yep. So do you think we'll move on to Virginia Tech after this discussion point, but do you think that teams are planning on next year, which is why they waited? They didn't take a guy early.
I mean, Stroud and Bryce Young are 2 top 5 picks. I mean, you're going to have to tank to get those 2 guys. They are not going to last until the 6 to 10. That's just the reality of the situation. Honestly, they may go 1-2 in next year's draft with Will Anderson probably in that 3rd spot, or he could go number 2 as well. So yeah, I definitely think next year's quarterback class is a lot better with the names that we mentioned, especially those 2 that are going to be franchise quarterbacks, I think, in the NFL. So, I mean, I guess they wanted to see how this year goes for their 2 respective teams. And if the quarterback play doesn't improve, maybe if the teams are bad, they can maybe trade up to get the pick, or, tank enough that you can get a top 2 to 3 pick in the draft. So you can get one of those 2 quarterbacks. So I guess in a way I shouldn't be surprised, because this quarterback class was never that good, but also, in a way I kind of was, because, there were people that had Malik Willis in top 10 of mock drafts. So even people had 2 quarterbacks being taken in the first round a lot of times, and the 2 quarterbacks that were taken, or that people were going to take, they weren't even picked in the actual draft. It just goes to show, how much, some people just don't know at times. It's really, this draft was always seen as very random, and that sure played out in the first round. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to another one, Virginia Tech Athletics. This is we had some players from Virginia Tech make it to the draft. James Mitchell went in the 3rd round to the Lions, and then Jermaine Waller also went to the Lions. It's an undrafted guy. Trey Turner went undrafted to the Vikings. Raiders. He actually had an original deal with the Vikings, but then the Raiders gave him more money, so he went there. Brock Hoffman undrafted to the Browns, and Luke Tenuta went 6th round, I believe, to the Bills, 6th or 7th round. Letitia Smith, I forgot where he went. I know he was drafted. And then, am I missing anyone else? Oh no, Jordan Williams went undrafted to Miami. I think those were the guys that were either drafted or undrafted. What were your thoughts on?
You're right. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad James Mitchell did get drafted. I think he's going to be a good player when he's healthy. He was definitely
Amari Barno Panthers. That's
yeah,
the other.
I'm excited to see what they can unlock with him. I think he was kind of wasted down here with really not knowing what to do with Barno. So really excited to see that. I mean, I'm glad that VT still has players making it to the NFL out of Justin Fuentes' tenure, to say the least. Hopefully
Jordan
that can
Stout,
continue.
technically Jordan Stout as well.
Yeah, that's right. He'll be, of course, the Ravens punter.
Yeah, he's Sam Cook's replacement. Whether it happens.
Is Sam Cook retired, Pradeep?
No one knows, but right now Sam Cook has a $3.1 million cap hit right now. So if they were to cut him, they would save about $1.2 million.
I guess
so
it's going to be at least it's going to be competition for him in camp.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm glad that VT is still getting represented at the draft. Maybe it's not a first rounder as we've been accustomed to at times, but there's still talented players from this program that are getting scooped up, whether it's being picked or it's undrafted free agents. I'm excited to see what Trey Turner can do if he can make the team for when he signed.
Yeah, no, and I think you kind of raised a good point with Barno. I mean, you could just extend this point to all of them. Justin Fuentes and that whole staff did not do a good job developing these guys. Like Trey Turner is a guy that looks at measurables, should be a day 3 pick. He should be a 4th round receiver, 3rd round receiver. He had all the tools, but he went undrafted. And Amari Barno, I mean, is an exciting pass rusher. He went he almost went undrafted. Like he was picked 190. But this is a guy that should be a 4th round pick, like 3rd or 4th round pick. James Mitchell. Now, James Mitchell probably should have stayed another year to try to build up his draft stock, but he got. I mean, it seems like a tight end. It seems like tight ends. That's the way to go because you had. I don't know. I forgot if Bucky. I forgot where Bucky Hodges was drafted, but Dalton Keene was a surprise 3rd rounder. And then James Mitchell was a surprise 3rd rounder as well. So I mean, it's a 4th or 5th rounder. So it's going to be pretty interesting on that front. Do you think who do you think is the best position to succeed out of all these guys who drafted or undrafted?
I mean, I kind of want to say James Mitchell, to be honest, just because
Hawkinson's still there, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So Hawkinson and.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a toss-up between I think him and Barno. If the Panthers can really unlock Barno, then I would lean him. But it's all a matter of how is he going to develop as an NFL player? Just because he started off a season playing really good and was seen as definitely a player that was going to. I think people had him as like a 1st or 2nd round talent at the time. And then obviously his stock faded because he wasn't making enough impact plays. And I think Justin Hamilton, his lack of experience as a defensive coordinator also potentially led to that. But, now he's being coached up by, NFL coaches. How is he going to be with that? I'm really curious about that.
I'm going to say Trey Turner.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going to say Trey Turner is because Tenuta with the Bills offensive line is hard to project. James Mitchell, if you look at who the Lions have as for the pass catching options, there are 2 reasons why Mitchell. I don't know how good his career is going to go because they have some good receivers, but also T.J. Hawkinson is your tight end 1. Mitchell is your tight end 2. So I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity and a chance to succeed. And then also, who's your quarterback? Who's the Lions quarterback of the future? Is it Jared Goff? Are they going to go after a Stroud or a Bryce Young or whoever else? Like, what's their plan at quarterback? So those are things that kind of hurt James Mitchell. And then with Amari Barno, you mentioned coaching. Matt Rule is doesn't have the most stable seat right now. So,
to say the least, yes.
Yeah. So if Matt Rule gets fired this year, I don't know who the next head coach is. I don't know what type of defense he would want to run, and then from there, I don't know if they're going to use Amari Barno the right way. And Amari Barno could, in a few years from now, could easily be one of those underperforming pass rushers that has a lot of physical tools and just needs to be in the right situation. And you've seen plenty of those guys. So that's why I kind of say Trey Turner, because with Trey Turner, you have Darren Waller, you have Devontae Adams, and you have Hunter Renfrow. But
That's a good receiver group. I'll say that. I mean, that's really good.
It's a good receiver group, but here's the other thing.
Mhm.
Who do they have after that? Like they have Braylon
much.
Edwards.
Yeah.
So I can see Trey kind of getting his way, getting a sizable role there, and especially with Derek Carr and what they can do and the numbers he puts up in the pass happy offense that they have there. I see him with more opportunity. That's why I say, even though he went undrafted, I think Trey Turner is going to have be in the best situation. And then I'm going to say, and then for worst situation, I'm going to say Barno because of the coaching instability. If the coaching was more stable, I probably would say someone else. And if some of those other guys played in a more projectable position, but I think Barno, we don't know unless we know what Matt Rule's future is and what defense they're going to run. I can't tell you what Barno's performance is going to be. So that's going to be interesting there. And then just predicting next year, I don't think we have a lot of players that might be draftable next year.
I don't right now.
Maybe Chamari Connor.
Yeah, that might be it though. I'm trying to think. Offense, defense. No, I really.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless someone really balls out.
Yeah, I mean Grant Wells, if he balls out, I could see him think about the draft a little bit. Maybe one of those fourth round quarterbacks, but I can't imagine he being him playing that well, frankly. And then receiver wise, I don't think Jaden Blue is going to perform well enough. I'm trying to think of the edge rushers. I'm trying to think of D-line. I don't think any of them will play well enough. I'm just trying to think offensive line. I don't know if any of them will play well enough. So it's going to be a quiet one next year, but I will say that some of these guys, like seeing guys like Brandon Smith kind of go into the draft and actually go pretty high into the draft in third, fourth round. Seeing, Luketa came in pretty late, but seeing what some of these Brent Pry developed guys kind of go into the draft from Penn State, it is exciting for the next couple of years because who knows what a Brent Pry coach Virginia Tech team is going to do versus a Justin Fuente team. And that was another point I was going to make about the other takeaways, like the difference between the Brent Pry developed prospects versus Justin Fuente, and how the Brent Pry related ones actually went earlier. So we'll end the show on that note. Next week we're going to be talking.
Shout out to VT Baseball. They just got their first ACC Road Series win at Virginia. So
yep.
They own the state this year. That's a really freaking good team
right now. They're seventh in the country right now. They could move up to closer to top 5. ACC tournament is coming up pretty soon. Then you have
the softball team is number 2 in the country right now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So next week we'll talk. We'll talk about Virginia Tech baseball more and Virginia Tech softball next week. Virginia Tech, it's women's basketball, I believe. They just got someone else transfer. Yeah. So
and VT just got John. The Ben's team just got John Camden, and they're trying to get a couple other people too.
Yeah. So we're going to talk more about the other news as well, and also baseball news as well. I didn't want to really do a section on the Virginia Tech other sports and baseball because the draft talk and everything else kind of were more important. We talk about that stuff today, this weekend, and next week we can talk about some of these other sports as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week, either Saturday or Sunday in the afternoon.
I think it'll probably be Saturday this time.
Yeah. All right. See you.
Hope we'll be back next week. See you guys.